Hey everyone, ready for a deep dive into something kind of wild.
Oh, yeah, always up for a challenge. What are we tackling today?
So get this. We're exploring this idea that aiming 10 times higher, like seriously 10xing your goals, might actually be easier than just shooting for double.
Whoa, hold on. That sounds a bit counterintuitive.
Right. Like
Wow.
totally flips the script on how we usually think about goals.
Yeah, we're all about those small steps, gradual progress.
But what if that's holding us back?
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
So our guide for this mind-bending journey is Dr. Benjamin Hardy's book, 10x is easier than 2x. We're diving into excerpts from the audiobook transcript.
Okay, I've heard of that book.
And get this, he uses Michelangelo, the artist, as a prime example.
Michelangelo, wow, okay, that's a big name.
It's all about how crazy, ambitious goals can lead to amazing transformations.
Got it. So not just about the goal itself, but the journey.
Exactly. Okay, so picture this. 1490s Italy. Michelangelo, at 17, is completely obsessed with anatomy.
Makes sense for an artist, right? Gotta understand the human form.
But here's the thing. Dissecting corpses was a huge taboo back then. Could literally get you killed.
Oh, wow. So high stakes.
But to create lifelike sculptures, Michelangelo knew he needed to understand the human body, like inside and out.
Makes you think, what are they truly willing to do for our goals?
Right. It's intense. This guy was sneaking into morgues at 90T.
No way.
Oh, yeah. Facing who knows what dangers just to study those corpses. There's even a part in the book where he talks about how amazed he was that different brains could look so similar.
That's dedication. Talk about going the extra mile.
Totally. That level of commitment, that deep dive into learning, that's a huge part of the 10x principle.
It's like fully mastering your craft, not just dabbling.
And here's where it gets even cooler.
Yeah.
Michelangelo's Hercules statue is like a perfect example of the 10x process in action.
Okay, break it down for me.
So he set out to make this life-size sculpture, which he'd never done before.
Ambitious, right.
Totally.
Hmm.
And he hadn't even been paid for a sculpture before this.
So he was really pushing himself, stepping outside his comfort zone.
Big time. And by setting this massive goal, way beyond his skill level at the time, he forced himself to grow. You know, like he set himself up for a total transformation.
I like it. So what happened?
Well, at first, he had this typical Hercules pose in mind.
Yeah.
Arms out, showing off those muscles, classic hero
His
stuff.
4-2 image.
But after all that time in the morgue, his understanding of anatomy was like on a whole other level.
Oh, I see where this is going.
He ended up creating this more closed, compact form for Hercules, way more anatomically accurate, way more unique, all because of that intense study.
So the 10x goal actually pushed him to create something even better.
Exactly. It's like he leveled up in real life, you know. And speaking of leveling up, the book goes into detail about his process. Creating a beeswax model, the careful chiseling. He even had a few close calls where he almost ruined the marble.
Oh, wow. So much at stake.
It really highlights the dedication, that laser focus he had.
And it connects to this idea of psychological flexibility, right? Which Dr. Hardy talks about a lot.
Right, the ability to adapt, keep moving towards your goals, even when things get tough.
Exactly. So how did Michelangelo show that?
Well, think about it. He took huge risks, learned from his mistakes, and was constantly picturing even bigger, bolder projects.
That's psychological flexibility in action. It's like not being afraid to push your limits.
Totally. And he definitely didn't settle. Which brings us to the David statue, like his next level up moment.
Oh, yeah, David. Iconic.
What's so interesting is that he didn't show David after his victory over Goliath.
Yeah, you usually see that triumphant pose.
Right, but Michelangelo chose to depict him right before the battle, highlighting that moment of anticipation, that inner resolve.
Powerful choice.
Totally. He captured that moment of gathering energy, you know, mental preparation, so different from what anyone else was doing.
Like he set a new standard.
Exactly. And that's a key part of the 10x mindset, right? It's not about fitting in or following the crowd.
It's about defining your own WN vision, bold and unique, and then going for it.
Love that. Okay, so we've seen how Michelangelo's journey embodies this whole 10x thinking thing.
It's a powerful example. But what about for the rest of us? Like, how do we apply this in a more practical way?
Right, like what's the actual difference between aiming for 2x versus 10x?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
Well, Dr. Hardy argues that with 2x thinking, we limit ourselves. It's all incremental progress, lots of competition.
Everyone fighting for tiny gains.
Exactly. But with 10x thinking, you break free from that. You're forced to think differently, to focus on what makes you stand out.
And you bypass all that mediocrity.
Precisely. It's like Imagine you're at a bar, right?
Hmm.
Most people, they're aiming for the fives and eights in terms of attractiveness, but you're going for that perfect 10.
Uh-huh. Love that analogy.
It illustrates the point, right? The way we approach our goals reflects how much we believe is possible.
Instead of settling for what's easy, you're going for the exceptional. Makes you wonder what we're all settling for in life.
It's something to consider, isn't it?
Big time. What would it look like to start aiming for those perfect 10s?
Who knows what doors that could open?
It's like you're playing a different game altogether. And the best part is, Hardy doesn't just stop with Michelangelo and bars, you know?
Mm.
He brings in real people using this 10x process in all sorts of fields.
Yeah, these examples really drive the point home. It's like 10x thinking. It's not just some abstract concept. It's a real thing.
Right. Okay, so we've got Chad in finance, Linda, who's killing it in real estate, and then, of course, Mr. Beast, the YouTube king of 10x.
That's a pretty diverse group.
Right.
Okay.
So Chad, he's this financial advisor, and he realizes he's drowning in busy work, all these tasks that weren't actually moving his business forward.
Been there.
So he makes a bold decision to completely refocus on deeply understanding his client's vision and building a team to handle everything else.
Wow, that's a big shift.
Yeah, it's about prioritizing that crucial 20%, right? The stuff that really matters.
And ditching the 80% that's just draining you.
Exactly. And guess what? His business explodes. Then there's Linda, who starts as a real estate agent with zero experience.
Hold on, from 0 to 10x in real estate, that's got to be tough.
Right. But here's the thing. She never stopped pushing herself, expanding her role, kept learning, kept growing, and she hired people to do the tasks she wasn't passionate about.
Smart move. Focus on your strengths.
Right. And it allowed her to really hone in on what she excelled at, like building relationships and closing deals. And get this, she starts small, hires an assistant.
Okay, makes sense.
But then she brings on buyer's agents and ends up building this massive regional business.
Wow, each step was like a 10x jump in itself.
It's like she was constantly leveling up, forcing herself to think bigger, create a structure to handle that growth.
She built a system. Love it. Speaking of ambitious, we can't forget Mr. Beast. The guy's basically a walking 10x YouTube manifesto.
Oh yeah, Mr. Beast. Always setting these crazy goals, coming up with wild ideas, and he's all about quality over quantity.
Which is interesting because on YouTube, it seems like everyone's just focused on churning out as much content as possible.
Exactly. But Mr. Beast gets it. He understands that real impact comes from creating something truly exceptional. His videos have insane production value, they're super creative, and he's built this massive following by pushing the boundaries of what YouTube can be.
He's not afraid to be different, that's for sure.
So, okay, what's the takeaway from all these examples? What are they actually doing that makes them so successful?
Well, it's not about burning yourself out, working 24/7 or grinding endlessly. It's a shift in your focus, prioritizing quality, depth, that uniqueness over just trying to do a lot of stuff.
Okay, so instead of juggling a million things and being mediocre at all of them,
You focus laser-like on a few things and do them incredibly well.
got it. Master your craft, go deep instead of wide.
Exactly. And this leads us to another of Dr. Hardy's principles. Embrace the who, not how.
Oh, I love this one.
It's so simple but so powerful. Instead of getting stuck in the how all the nitty-gritty of accomplishing something, you ask, who can help me do this?
It's a game changer.
Frees up your mental energy, lets you focus on the bigger picture. Remember, Linda hiring assistants, Chad building his team.
They were always leveraging other people's skills, right?
Yeah.
To achieve these massive results.
Exactly. And it's not just about getting tasks off your plate.
Oh, yeah. It's about bringing in people who are maybe even better than you at certain things.
It's like letting go of that need to control every single little detail.
That's tough for a lot of people.
It is, but think of it like building a skyscraper, right? You can't do it all yourself. You need a team with different skills and expertise to create something truly extraordinary.
Okay, so how do we actually start applying this 10x thinking to our own lives?
That's the real challenge. Well, I think it starts with, being honest with ourselves.
About what?
About where we might be stuck in that 2x mindset. Where are we playing it safe, not really pushing ourselves?
You mean those areas where we're comfortable?
Exactly. It's like, what would happen if we started applying 10x thinking to those areas? What kind of transformations could we see?
It's exciting, right? But kind of scary, too, to think about what we could really achieve if we went all in on those 10x goals.
Definitely makes you step outside your comfort zone. And speaking of pushing boundaries, it brings us back to Michelangelo.
Oh, yeah, good point. The guy was literally risking his life for knowledge, for art.
It makes you wonder, what's our modern day equivalent, you know?
Yeah.
What's that goal in our own lives that seems almost impossible right now?
Yeah, like what's our version of sneaking into the morgue in the middle of the night?
Haha, right. What's that thing that makes us a little uncomfortable to even think about?
Hmm, that's a good question to ponder. But before we go too deep down that rabbit hole, maybe we should recap what we've learned about this whole 10x thing.
Yeah, good idea. So aiming 10 times higher, it might sound crazy at first,
It definitely does.
but it pushes us to think differently, to break free from those limitations we put on ourselves.
It's about going from just being busy to creating something truly amazing.
And it's about building a system that can actually support that level of ambition, right? Remember the who, not how principle.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
Surround yourself with the right people, build that team to help you reach those massive goals.
It's like if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together.
Exactly. And it all comes back to that shift in mindset, you know? It's not about working harder, it's about working smarter. Find that 20% that really drives your success.
And get rid of the 80% that's just holding you back.
Right. And always be looking for ways to improve the quality of what you do, whatever that is.
Raise those standards. Aim for those perfect tens. Well, as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a challenge.
Oh, I like challenges. Lay it on me.
What's one area of your life where you can really apply this 10x principle? What's that goal that seems almost impossible right now?
That makes you a little nervous just thinking about it.
Embrace that, right? Let it fuel your ambition. Because 10x thinking, it's not just about hitting bigger goals.
It's about becoming a different kind of person, someone who can achieve those incredible things.
Until next time, keep pushing those boundaries, and of course, keep diving deep.
See you next time.